Welcome to the Herd's official YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe. Don't forget to check out the Colin Cowherd podcast, all of our NFL instant reactions, and more football content. It's great to have you in. Blazing 5. We've had a very good year. I always felt if I could get to 55%, I was in good space. We're a little higher than that this year. It's funny about the NFL season as you start looking right now at who is winning their divisions. It is often offensive coach or top coach with a really excellent quarterback. So on an annual basis, I do not think it's that difficult to predict, divisions and winning teams. That part's not as difficult. On a week-to-week basis against the spread, it's not easy, but we introduce our Blazing 5.
That's a hot one. Let's blaze it up. Fire it up. It's Colin's Blazing 5. Ravens and Bengals.
Folks, Joe Burrow's won 8 of his last 9 starts. I like the Bengals as a dog at home getting points. They've played the 4th hardest schedule, and they've gone toe-to-toe. They should have beaten Buffalo last week. They've scored 30-plus points in 3 straight games with Burrow. The defense now is not great, but 7 takeaways in 3 games. They're playing with a lot of energy. They're playing with a lot of pride. And Joe Burrow, folks, last year he was arguably, when healthy, the best quarterback in the league. And Lamar Jackson struggling. Ravens 0-4 against the spread in the last month. They're averaging in the last month 20 points a game. I think the Bengals at home as a dog is a sharp bet. 27-24, Cincinnati beats the stumbling Ravens.
Lions and Rams.
Rams -5.5 is the play. My favorite bet. Clinches playoff spot with a win, so it matters a lot for the Rams, and they've won 7 of 8 games, many comfortably. They have the fewest offensive mistakes in the league. They don't get penalized. They don't get sacked. They don't give the ball away. And now they're at home against the Lions team searching for an offensive identity. The Lions averaging 13 points a game in their 3 road losses. This is 2 teams that feel like one's totally in rhythm, one is out of rhythm. Right now, Jared Goff is facing a 38% pressure rate. They can't pick up first downs on 3rd or 4th. Matt Stafford at home this year has been unbelievable. He's got time to throw. I think the Rams win, and the Rams cover. Final score 33-26.
Panthers at Saints.
I like the Panthers -2.5 as a road favorite. They come off extra rest with an offensive coach, and I think they're just a better team than the Saints. They're 5-1 when they score at least 20 points this year. Again, they beat the Rams. This team's got a pretty high ceiling. Most improved defense thanks to good drafting in the NFL this year. They were a wreck defensively. Last year, averaging 31 a game defensively. They gave up 30 points down to 22. Saints are in a letdown spot. They come off a big win, feeling themselves against Tampa. But Bryce Young's last 3 games, I like him. By the way, the Saints have been held under 20 points in 7 of 8 games. This is an easy one. Big quarterback, coach advantage. Right now, the defense playing well. I'm going to take the Panthers to win and to cover 30-23.
Packers and Broncos.
I like Green Bay -2.5. They're on a 4-game winning streak. They finally got those wide receivers healthy. They've been the second best offense in the league, have the Packers on the road. They're 4-1-1 on the road. Christian Watson, 5 touchdowns, last 4 games. They are really in sync offensively. The Broncos are a bit overvalued because they've had the second easiest schedule in the league. They have trailed Denver in 12 of 13 games, and Denver plays close. 5 straight 1-score games. Jordan Love on the road this year. I like him in this spot. Denver may have the better defense, but I'm not even sure about that. I'm going to take Green Bay minus the points to win and cover 28-24.
Colts at Seahawks.
Take the under 42.5. 2 run-heavy teams. It will be a fast game. Seattle, big game coming up. They want to get out of this thing healthy. They're not going to put Darnold in harm's way. They're going to run the ball, and that's all the Colts can do with 44-year-old Phillip Rivers as a likely starting quarterback. Back-to-back games, the Seahawks have held people under 10 points. Offensively, they have the highest rushing percentage. The Colts offense the last 3 games has disappeared, so they don't want Phillip Rivers throwing that thing 30 times. The Colts are going to run it. The Seahawks want to keep Darnold healthy for the last stretch of the season in the playoffs. Seattle knows they're going to win it. Over-under is 42.5. I think the Seahawks blow them out 30-6, but I think Seattle wants to get out of this game. It's been a weird, wild weather week, flooding all over Seattle. They want to get in, run the ball, stay healthy, get ready for the big games coming up against the Rams. So there's my Blazing 5. JMac, any thoughts on it?
Absolutely terrifying how much I love these. I've already bet 3, actually 4. I bet the under in Seahawks Colts, so I'm with you on that. I just can't get there with the Bengals. It looks like T. Higgins today. They're saying no practice, concussion. That was clear in the Buffalo game. I don't think he's going to play, but it may not matter. Baltimore seems broken at this point. Did you see Lamar getting a little surprised to hear he only has 1 carry of over 20 yards since the first week?
Yeah.
He's like,
we've been saying
really?
This. Yeah.
Yeah, Lamar.
Yeah, J-Mac and I have talked about this. When you pay your quarterback what you're paying Josh Allen, or you know the drill, Mahomes, Josh Allen. It's harder to construct a roster. It's very hard to draft. You know, all the anonymous trolls on the internet, they're brilliant drafters. I know these guys. It's hard. It's really hard to draft. You just don't know, especially positions like wide receiver. There was some ego and a big personality at wide receiver. And, you know, some guys just, it doesn't work. You're asking young people to, you know, come into a sport, travel cross country, different total offense. It's hard. I think it's much harder than drafting in basketball because you can spot basketball talent. I always tell the story. You know, I was in Hartford, Connecticut, watching my daughter play in a tournament. And there was 7, 8 teams playing at once. I sit down next to a coach, and I said, who's that girl like 4 courts away? And he goes, oh, yeah, she's the best player. Like 7th, 8th grade girls. He's like, she's already getting a talk from Division I schools. You can spot basketball talent in 1 second. Football, it's maturity. It's not the biggest, the strongest. It's heart. It's intangibles. So I think it's hard, and I understand that. And Brett Veach is really good with the Chiefs. But Kansas City can be officially eliminated this weekend. Should be noted, Tom Brady, when healthy, made the playoffs 19 straight years. Tom took very favorable team deals. So last week was the home game against Texans. It was must win, and they got worked. And I said at the time, Houston's got better players. So Kansas City just doesn't look the part. And this morning, I was saying this to the team. I said, name the top 10 Chiefs players, not on resume or legacy, guys who are playing at a high level right now. Number 1 is Mahomes. Number 2 is a center, Creed Humphrey. And number 3 is a corner, Trent McDuffie. By the time you get to the 4th best player, you're saying, well, I mean, Chris Jones is having a down year. Or maybe he's old. Well, Trey Smith is usually good. He's taken a small step back. You know, Travis Kelce's had some drops, but he's been reasonably. I don't know who their 4th best player is. They have an offensive tackle issue. Conversely, let's go to a team that also has an expensive quarterback, but a more team-friendly deal. Matt Stafford Rams. Let's go to their 10 best players. Folks, they're all having great years. Stafford, Puka Nacua, Jared Verse, Devontae Adams, Kevin Dotson, Steve Avila. The guards are great. Kyron Williams. Poona Ford has been unbelievable. Byron Young, Nate Landman. I didn't mention any of their good tight ends. They've got safeties I like. I didn't mention any of their safeties. They got 2 really good safeties. So my point is, trust your eyes. I don't know who the Chiefs' 4th best player is. I think Karlaftis, a little overpaid, big salary cap next year. I don't know if I'd be comfortable with it. So this is not anti-Kansas City. Kareem Hunt, isn't he their leading rusher? Wasn't he out of the league a couple of years ago? Like, I just don't think, to me, the Rams and the Eagles and the Packers and the Lions, a lot of these teams who are also paying their quarterback, Jared Goff and Matt Stafford, Jalen Hurts, you can get around it, but I just don't like, I trust my eyes. I don't like what I see with Kansas City. So this is an interesting player. So this weekend this is one of my Blazing 5 picks. I won't tell you what side. Denver hosts Green Bay. And Denver's going to win this division. Kansas City is now third behind Denver and the Chargers. I think it's fascinating with Bo Nix. So the Broncos quarterback is Bo Nix. He's on a rookie deal. So the Broncos roster, especially defense, it's pretty stacked. But it's interesting about Bo Nix. He is 21-9 as a starter. And you could say, well, it's the defense. Well, he's taken the fewest sacks during these last 2 years. That's a skill. He leads the NFL in game-winning drives. Yes, leads the NFL last 2 seasons. That's a skill. Okay, he has the second most fourth-quarter touchdowns since he entered the league. That's a skill. And by the way, this is where I will defend him. Outside of Mahomes, he also has the most pass attempts. Okay, Sean Payton's hard on his quarterbacks. He's incredibly demanding. It's a thick playbook. This is not Big Ben when he came to the NFL out of Miami, Ohio, went to the Steelers, and they were babysitting him for 2 years and letting a dominating defense control the games. You know, Ben would make 17, 18, 19 throws. They were kind of babysitting him. That's not what this is. This is, here's the playbook, kid. Memorize it. We're going to use all of it Sunday. So there's no babysitting with this kid. They're asking him to do more. And I'm going to defend those quarterbacks who have to throw it 45 times a game. And I feel like with Bo Nix, and people do this, everybody's made up their mind on Bo Nix. Because you saw a lot of them at Oregon, and you've seen enough of them here, and nobody wants just to acknowledge he's really good in the fourth. He's got all those things I love. He's durable. He's coachable. He's athletic. He's productive in the fourth quarter. He's a winner. He doesn't listen to the noise. You know, he's not on social media. He's 100% team guy. But and I've said, if you love Caleb Williams in Chicago, you got to like Bo Nix. Both have good rosters. Both have excellent O-lines. Both have brilliant offensive coaches. Both have nice weapons. I like Denver's receivers. I don't care what anybody says. I love Cortland Sutton. So if you like Caleb, you got to like Bo Nix. Both are uneven. Both are very, very good in the fourth quarter. Yeah, I hear that. Caleb's a superstar. Bo Nix, I'm out on. So far, great offensive coach, great O-line, defenses that take the ball away, right? One's leading the division. One's battling Green Bay to lead a division. Here's Bo Nix on being underdogs, actually, at home to Green Bay.
Seems to be a playoff game, so this will be an intense game on the field. It'll be an intense environment. I don't really care. My mom thinks we'll win, so that's all that matters.
You can tell his dad was a coach. He doesn't take sacks. Totally coachable. And again, Sean Payton's not easy. It's funny about this. Sean Payton, that's why I say Caleb and Bo Nix to this point, very comparable. Both now are in their second year. Both can struggle early in games, but both usually win and deliver late. Both throw occasional interceptions, but not that many, really. But Caleb's got this kind of fandom behind him. I think Bo Nix is really good. I think Bo Nix is way more athletic than anybody gives him credit for. And in that draft class, Drake May has been the absolute inarguable star. Nobody can push back on that. But if you like Caleb, it feels like you got to like Bo Nix to me. In fact, Bo Nix has actually been more accurate as a thrower. Blazing 5, top of the hour. The NFL schedule for the weekend, it is a very important weekend. Even the games that don't have playoff implications, Minnesota at Dallas is fascinating because what are we going to see from J.J. McCarthy? He just had his best game as a pro. They need to watch him the next 4 weeks to make a decision. What are they going to do with J.J. McCarthy? The Dallas defense doesn't let you run, so he's going to have to throw to beat the Cowboys on the road. So even a game without playoff implications, Dallas hosting Minnesota, to me, is a very interesting game. Atlanta won last night. Bucks are reeling. I think it's not a Blazing 5 pick. I think Chicago wins this weekend. But I think it's an entertaining game. I want to see Shedeur and Caleb Williams. I really do. JMac, I ask you every week, where's the upset on the board? There's going to be a couple of them.
5 double-digit spreads. I'm not touching any of those.
There's going to be an upset on the board.
I mean, there was one last night. Falcons were, 5, 6, something like that?
Yep.
I was looking at the Browns, but I don't think I can do it. I mean, the weather's bad. Shedeur's down both tackles right now and his starting center. I don't see that happening. I guess if you're begging me to take a dog, I would kick the tires with the Minnesota Vikings on Sunday Night Football. I mean, listen, I know you're smiling. You don't like J.J. McCarthy.
Wait. Stop with I don't like J.J. McCarthy. The current data leads me to believe he's not a franchise quarterback. Can we restate that?
We can restate that. That being said, they won 31-0. He lit the world on fire. We didn't even mention the guy all week practically. Like, he had a good game. I know it's Washington.
Very busy show.
Yeah.
There's no time to mention it.
I think they'll be frisky. I like the Miami Dolphins on Monday Night Football.
So do I.
Yeah, getting 3.5. I don't love the 3.
We got to give Miami credit. We bailed on everything. They have played their butt off.
The club DJ, Mike McDaniel,
that last weekend in New York, cold weather, that game was over in 8 minutes.
Yeah.
I got nothing against Cam Newton, but he was a little ridiculous this week. He said it's a slap in the face. The Colts did not call him. He's sitting out there ready to play. Instead, they called 44-year-old Phillip Rivers. Well, first, Phillip Rivers played for the Colts, so he knows people in the building. The Colts coach, Shane Steichen, was the quarterback coach with Phillip Rivers with the San Diego Chargers. So there's that. May have been L.A. or San Diego, transition, whatever. They know each other. Rivers is also totally obsessed with football. He's coaching high school football, actually using the Colts playbook. So the messaging that Phillip Rivers has always sent is, I am totally committed to football. The messaging that, Cam has sent since he's gotten out of football is a podcast, a TV show, and fashion, which is fine. But, and the other thing is, the last time they both played, remarkably, Phillip Rivers was outstanding. The last year he played in 2020, he had a 97 passer rating, 68% completion percentage. Cam Newton aged really fast. He was awful the last time he played 1 year later. And that's interesting, and it's instructive because Cam was an athletic freak. Quarterbacks reliant on athleticism age fast. Pocket guys like Brady or Jared Goff or Matt Stafford or Phillip Rivers age very, very well. So what that he got less athletic? Brady was never hyper athletic. Either was Goff. Either was Stafford. The athletic quarterbacks, like some are saying Lamar Jackson has taken a massive step back. Kyler Murray. Russell Wilson aged overnight. It was inexplicable. So being better in the pocket has many benefits. One of them, you will age well. Tom Brady yesterday on the show talked about that when you're older, you have to, be a little more intentional.
So you don't waste any time being inefficient in the offseason with your training or in training camp. You don't waste throws. You don't waste workouts. Everything is like with the real intention to it. So I was very fortunate, 23 seasons. I mean, I still think I could play now, but it's just the thought of doing it and the commitment that it takes. When you get older and you got the life full of responsibilities, it gets just a little bit more challenging.
It's you see this, for the record, you see this in the NBA and basketball in general. If you're hyper athletic and not a great shooter, Steph Curry should be able to play, for a long time. He's a great shooter. If you're really, really athletic, Russell Westbrook, for instance, you may not age as well. There'll be a pretty quick drop off. So, Phillip Rivers never relied on athleticism if he knows the playbook. I don't think he's going to be great, but they have a pretty good offensive line. What if he went out and honestly, underneath throws, went 20 of 29? Would you be shocked by it? I mean, you think it's crazy, but they're not going to ask him to sit in the pocket with this defense. They're not going to ask him to do that. They're going to draw up a game plan, which is a lot of 12 and under throws. He knows the playbook. He was never, and he's been throwing every day because he's at practice. So it's just fascinating. You think, it's going to be a disaster. Almost always, as a rule in our business, We talk about this all the time when we talk about sports gambling. If everybody is on one side, bet the other side, just out of principle. This is a guy that was never dependent on athleticism. He was a sit in the pocket, know the playbook, 15 yards and under. I mean, not all those Chargers teams were great downfield. They weren't rolling the pocket for this guy. So, I mean, Tom Brady has said this. I think he said it publicly to me. He could play tomorrow. Cam Newton aged overnight. I mean, Cam retired early. Once he lost his athletic fastball, he was okay from the pocket. He was very, very inconsistent. So, I mean, I think Caleb Williams is a remarkable talent, but Caleb's never going to be a guy completing 68% of his throws. I mean, you guys watch Kirk Cousins. There's a prime example. I mean, everybody sold all their stock in Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins never ran around. Kirk Cousins will have nights, you know, he'll have Sundays and Mondays. He had a Thursday game, was it last year? He just tore the league up because Kirk Cousins is a pure 100% pocket quarterback. A guy that I think is going to age really well is Jared Goff. I mean, Matt Stafford's 37. His back, he didn't even go to camp. Matt Stafford's been the most accurate quarterback in the league this year. Why? They give him protection, good weapons. He gets rid of it quick. Eric Mangini, Jets, Browns, former head coach, now with Fox Sports, is joining us live. So as somebody who lives in Cleveland, the Shedeur Sanders, you know, story, considering he has the lowest rated receiving core and a bottom 3 O-line, I've actually been impressed. Now, Cleveland doesn't always have, you know, they get a little hot on their quarterbacks, right? Like, I'm sure they're not measured and nuanced with their takes. But what is the feeling? He's a big play quarterback. I mean, I trust my eyes. He's looked pretty good. He's not working with much offensively. What have you made of him?
Yeah, so going into the draft, everybody felt Shedeur was going to be drafted significantly higher, and I think a lot of people in Cleveland felt Shedeur was going to be drafted to Cleveland significantly higher. So then when he ended up being here and got drafted after Dylan Gabriel, there was frustration on the fan base's part because they were told how good this player was. And so then he sat, and now he's finally getting an opportunity to play. And he's definitely getting graded on a curve, Colin, because when you look at the Tennessee game, he made some really good plays, and then he made some plays that you think, okay, this is going to be a problem. That one interception that he threw was just ridiculous. He shouldn't have done that. And then, you know, the sacks were an issue in college, and I think they're going to continue to be an issue in pro football. But the plays that he makes outside the pocket, those are exciting. And as you said, in Cleveland, there's such a desperation for any optimism at quarterback that the game last week, even in a loss to Tennessee, was still really exciting to most people.
It does matter when you play in a city like Cleveland that's starved for wins, or let's take Buffalo, where, you know, you have the Sabres, but it's at Bill's town. And I said, if they lose to New England, the headline Monday is going to be Vrabel wins division year one with second-year quarterback. And, I mean, Greg Cosell was on this week and said, I don't love Buffalo's roster. It's hard to spot great players beyond Josh Allen when you watch tape. And I said, this game is way bigger. Monday morning, getting swept by Vrabel when you have the best quarterback in the league in Josh Allen. Now, you lived in New York where there's a million sports teams, but Cleveland, when you were there, Browns are big. Your take on, let's just say, Buffalo loses this weekend. You've lived in that world where talk radio, things get ugly, people. Take me to what it could be like for McDermott.
Yeah, it can be really hard this year, especially because it looks like we're not going to have Mahomes in the playoffs. It looks like we're potentially not going to have Lamar Jackson in the playoffs. We're not going to have Joe Burrow in the playoffs. So the only real Superman left in the AFC is Josh Allen. And if this year would be the ideal year to be able to have that number one seed with all these other stars and franchises that you've had problems with essentially eliminated. And now within your own division, you've got a second-year quarterback and not a first-time head coach, but a first-year head coach in Mike in New England, and they're going to win the division. I think Buffalo's going to win the game, Colin, and I think that the last time they played New England, they didn't take New England very seriously. Remember, Buffalo was riding that 11-game home win streak. They'd won, I think, 5 in a row. New England was sort of milling around, and they had 11 penalties. It was a lot of things that just made it look like they looked past New England, which isn't going to be the case this game, and I think Buffalo ends up winning it.
So you were with the Patriots, and dynasties are rare, but it's just as hard to maintain them as it is to build them once you start paying the quarterback. And Kansas City looks like they won't make the playoffs. And frankly, they've got 2 or 3 really great players. McDuffie, Creed Humphrey, Mahomes. But Chris Jones looks like he's aged. Travis Kelce is aged. Their O-line, they have major problems at all over it, but especially at tackle. What do you think the secret was to extend that dynasty? Because even when New England wasn't winning Super Bowls, they were good and winning the division. Is some of this just Sean Payton and Jim Harbaugh showed up in your neighborhood, or is it a roster regression? Like, what was the secret sauce to you beyond, because they've got Reed and Mahomes, you had Brady and Belichick, and you kept winning, and you tell me what you see with Kansas City.
Well, in fairness to Kansas City, Colin, it's 3 straight Super Bowl runs,
yeah,
and they won 2 out of 3. That's hard. Those extended off seasons are really hard on the team, and then you come back and you do it again, so they win 2 straight. Then they've got a chance last year to win 3 straight. So that's 3 off seasons that have been dramatically shortened. You don't get the high draft picks, and it can be extremely challenging, and it wears you down. And yeah, I think that's what we're seeing right now is this is an off year, and it's been a really off year for Patrick Mahomes. His sub-20 quarterback rating, that was lower than any quarterback rating Tom ever got in his 23-year career. And he struggled here now for well over a month. But as long as they have Patrick Mahomes, every single year they're going to have a chance to win the Super Bowl. Like, forget about the rest of the players. They're going to need other good players. But as long as you have that player, just like as long as we had Tom Brady, you always had a chance, they're going to have a chance. They just may need a little bit of a real offseason and a little bit more of a reset. And I think next year we're going to be talking about them again being in the mix for the AFC Championship and the Super Bowl.
A lot of discussion about how talented Caleb Williams is, but how low his completion percentage is. And I do think there's a fine line on letting a star be a star and understanding. They're gonna have a few more picks. They're more aggressive. Brett Favre's just an aggressive player. And I think Josh Allen, he's an aggressive player. How troubled would you be with Caleb at 58%? Is there a line you want to get up to? Because we see him make incredibly difficult throws. We know he's got all sorts of horsepower. He may have the strongest arm in the league. We know he's wildly evasive. Where are you on his completion issues?
Yeah, I don't love a 58% completion. You'd probably want to be somewhere. I think the league average is about 64%. So that's the low point. That's what we're gunning for. What I really like that Caleb's done is how dramatically he's changed the number of sacks that he's taken. Think about last year, the volume of sacks this guy took, and we could kill the offensive line and we can kill the offensive coordinator, and I get all that. But a lot of those sacks were on him, and he's doing a much better job, and Ben Johnson's doing a really good job with him of not turning a bad play into a really bad play to where now you're 2nd and 15 or whatever it is. So that's been great. Huge progress there. He protects the ball pretty well. That's really, really good. Yeah, the completion percentage, I think, will continue to creep up as he understands defenses better, as he continues to understand the offense better. But he's corrected 2 pretty significant problems that we saw last year with the sacks and just the propensity for turnovers. They're not perfect, but huge progress. So I'm really encouraged by him. All
right, before we go to our video, the Eagles, I thought it was cringy. had this positivity bunny. And maybe if you were on a 6-game winning streak, it's funny. But when you're losing, it seems desperate. What'd you make of it?
I don't know who put it up. So, sometimes the offensive lineman or, a group will put something in the locker room, and it can be really cringy or it can be funny, or they think it's funny, but the rest of the world thinks it's cringy. You don't love the fact that they put it up and then it becomes a national story and then they lose the game, and it's something where there should be nothing. And I do imagine it was probably just a throwaway sort of lighthearted thing that somebody thought was going to hit, that now becomes a much bigger story because they're on a 3-game losing streak. I can't imagine this was Sirianni saying, hey, fellas, you know what we need in the locker room? A positivity bunny. That's the answer. So I don't know who was responsible for it, but I'm glad it's gone.
So I said, what if Phillip Rivers, you watch Kirk Cousins, and Kirk Cousins is dealing. Why? Because he never relied on athleticism. Tom Brady, 44 years old, dealing. Matt Stafford, 37. Aaron's been pretty good. Not quite as good because he did rely somewhat on his athleticism. Yet, a guy like Cam Newton ages really fast. People are suggesting Lamar Jackson is aging really fast. So I look at Phillip Rivers and I'm like, he didn't run in his prime. He was probably the least athletic quarterback in the league his last 4 years. His last year in Indy, he was great. And I'm like, listen, they got a good run game, a good O-line. You don't want him sitting there for 7 seconds. I could see a world where he stabilizes the offense. Am I nuts?
I think you might be nuts. You're absolutely right in the fact that the quarterbacks that have not had to rely on their feet throughout the course of their career age so much better than running quarterbacks because they've had to consistently find a second pitch when the first answer wasn't there.
Yeah.
Where running quarterbacks, when it's not there, they take off. But Father Time gets you with that. The difference here to me with Phillip Rivers versus when Joe Flacco first got brought in by the Browns after sitting out through November is Joe Flacco had played the year before. Joe Flacco was 38. Phillip's 44, just turned 44. He hasn't played in 5 years. And Joe Flacco, he played after 13 games or 13 days on the team. We're talking about 4 days on the team. So he's coming off the couch after 5 years at 44 years old with very little time to practice against a salty defense that pressures a ton. I understand he knows the system, and that's a huge benefit, not just for him, but for everybody around him. But this is a rough unit that he's going to be rolled out there against. I don't love it, Colin. I hope it ends up like a Disney movie. I hope it ends up nice, or like a Hallmark movie for the holidays. The coach comes out and saves the team, but could be rough.
Yeah, you're probably right. I'm trying to be optimistic, Okay, I've said, listen, when Jordan Love was in college, people thought he was reckless, and then he sat for 3 years, and then his first 5 or 6 games, he was awful, and then he was good, then he got hurt. But he does check certain boxes: arm, athleticism, size, appears to be incredibly coachable, aggressive. He'll throw the ball downfield. I know you got some film on him this week. I like him. And I think all this stuff is not linear, right? Like it's turbulent. You don't know. I mean, Matt LaFleur, when he first started after sitting for 3 years, was really impatient with him. He's like, we're not good. Now he's really good. What do you see?
Yeah, the thing that I've always saw with Jordan Love is when he's good, Colin, he's really, really good. He doesn't get A+, he gets A++. But when he's been bad, he's been more of a C-type student. That's gotten a little bit better. His bad games haven't been as bad, and his good games are still as good as they've been. But that inconsistency overall, I don't love. But he's on a bit of a heater right now.
Yeah.
And when I went back and looked at the Bears game, I thought it was not only him, but I thought they did a really good job as an offensive staff of attacking the Bears.
One of the reasons I like a Darnold or a Jordan Love, I loved Andrew Luck, is that if you blitz, they will punish you. I would blitz all day if you never punish me. I'll tell you, if I blitz and you beat me for an 8-yard completion, with Chicago, they brought the pressure and he burned them twice in that game. And so that's why I've always said, I'll deal with some interceptions. I'll deal with intercept. Andrew Luck threw a lot. Peyton Manning threw them. But I need to burn you if you do blitz me. And I think that's what Green Bay does. And I think the really good teams do. Mahomes did that for years, too.
Yeah, and it's not just the quarterback being able to recognize that stuff and take advantage of it, but then also the offensive staff or the offensive coordinator also understanding how to really attack that and how to educate the quarterback on where to exploit those weaknesses when you blitz. And that's always a huge risk you take as a defensive coordinator is somebody's band's going to play. It's either our band or their band when we bring this pressure, and the good quarterbacks, their band plays way more often than the defenses does.
Eric Mangini, good seeing you, Coach.
Great seeing you. Talk to you soon, Colin.
All right. JMac with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herdline News.
You just slide that in there. I love it.
Cam Newton.
Oh, boy, that guy's a character. All right, let's start with the Bears. Your Bears, Colin. I'm calling that. They are coming off that tough loss to the Packers. Great game. I really liked that football game. That was a fun one. Now they match up with a 3-win Browns team this week. It is a classic sandwich spot, and Ben Johnson wants to make sure the team's urgency remains.
This week, you go from an emotional rivalry game like we just played. This week is equally important. We need this win. We desperately need this win.
Yeah, I think they get a little bit of a break. Minnesota's not a playoff team, and the Lions, I believe, lose to the Rams. And the Packers have a tough one, so I don't think it's as desperate as that. But I will say you need, at this point, if you're the Bears, to win the games you should win, and you're a home 7-point favorite against rookie Shedeur Sanders. So this is a game they should win, and they've got the much, much deeper, better offensive line and receiving core.
Yeah, the only caution here is late in the season, dogs are kind of barking as the favorite team. They just want to win. You're right. They don't know style points. We don't care about that. Let's get out of here. No injuries.
That's Seattle this weekend.
Totally agree. But with this Bears, they got Packers next week. Humongous game. I think they catch a break with this. Have you seen the Browns injury report? It's almost like everybody's like, hey, I've got an elbow injury. I'm out. I'm not playing. Their offensive line's a mess. I think the Bears do enough to win here, but I have no action on this game.
I skipped it too.
I would say under 25 passes. It's going to be cold. I'm sure you'll be in the crowd for this.
Well, I think no, I won't.
5 degrees they're talking.
It's not going to be cold where I'm watching it.
All right, let's move on. Let's get back to the Eagles and their inflatable positivity bunny in the locker room. It lasted a week. It was laughable. And then they lost to the Chargers, and then they popped the balloon, or whatever that positivity bunny is. Saquon Barkley wasn't a huge fan, and neither was Eagles legend Jason Kelce.
If I'm being very brutally honest, I thought it was a surprise to see the rabbit, because I'm like, it's a sign of just like too much like joking around with something that I think is like actually like you should be really pissed off at the way you're playing. And it's okay to be positive, but like, this is something you do when everything's rolling and you're freaking performing well. You don't do antics like this when you've the bed for the last couple of weeks.
I love this. I totally agree with this. There's a time and a place for everything. If the Rams did this as a joke going into the holidays, they did a Santa bubble. You were playing well. We want to give thanks for we're healthy. You do it for a day. That's funny. When you're struggling, this looks desperate and cringy. It is. J-Mac, there are different times to do different things. We all know that in life. There's a time to be tough on your kids. There's a time to, like, lighten up a little, Dad. This felt like, oh, we're struggling. Like this somehow would produce a different result. It's like, that's so weird to me. And they got rid of it after 3 days.
I do wonder, like, let's say Jalen Hurts doesn't throw a pick on the final drive and gets a touchdown, because they were going toward a touchdown, and they get the win. Is the whole narrative like, hey, positivity, buddy, we got the win, and they keep it? And because they lost, they get rid of it? I mean, it just seems goofy and unnecessary.
If you're struggling as a professional sports team, there are times it's understandable. Injuries. There's times maybe our schedule got really difficult. But Philadelphia's roster should never, for any extended period of time, struggle. It is like the Rams. The Rams are literally too good to have a 4-game losing streak. So, again, I understand struggling. Like you lose your left tackle and you have an immobile quarterback, Goff. You're like, okay, we can't pass protect. I mean, Kansas City this year, you know, they're defensively, they cannot get people off the field. Chris Jones has aged quickly. Philadelphia should not go on losing streaks. You can lose games. You can't go on losing streaks in Philadelphia.
You know what I want? I want somebody to put some stickum in A.J. Brown's locker so he catches passes when it matters. Colin, those drops were bad.
You can't complain about not getting looks and then make drops.
Yeah, inexcusable. Final story, let's go to another one. Right in your wheelhouse, Sammy D, Sam Darnold, and the Seattle Seahawks. Interesting little subplot here, Colin. So, obviously, they're 10-3, and they're going for the number 1 seed. They should smoke the Colts this weekend. I don't know if Phillip Rivers starts or not. We'll see. But Sam Darnold is talking to the media this week. He's talking about the offense and it clicking. Take a listen to this.
Obviously, coming off last week, just, you know, the emphasis, I guess, this week would just be, you know, continuing to be efficient and be ourselves as an offense throughout the entire game. And that really starts in practice with our prep. But again, just looking at these guys, you know, a really good team, really good defense, you know, really good scheme, and their players, like I always kind of say, but especially this week, you know, they kind of make it come to life with the scheme that they have. And, you know, we're excited about the challenge.
Yeah, this is, there are 2 teams in the league that we're not talking about, aren't getting a lot of play among what I call national media, the Houston Texans and the Seattle Seahawks. And when you watch both, it's really obvious they have drafted extremely well. They are fast and violent and aggressive and physical and intimidating. You start looking at Seattle. Seattle's had 6 games this year, JMac, where they've won by 14 or more. That's kind of what Super Bowl champs do. If you go back and look after, like Philadelphia last season or Super Bowl teams, you'll go back and go, man, they forget how many times they carved people up. That's why the Ravens have been so disappointing the last several years. They've been that team that blows people out, and then in January they struggle. So you start watching Seattle, and I know this week will be an outlier because of the Phillip Rivers situation. Seattle, their last 3 drafts, they have hit on a lot of dudes. That safety from South Carolina, 2nd-round guy,
Is it fair to call them something of a bully, Colin? When they go up against bad teams, they're just going to overwhelm them. Because Zach pulled some interesting stats here. So, in a win over New Orleans, they scored 38 in the first half, 6 in the second half.
Right.
Against Washington, 31 in the first half, 7 second half. But then they alternate, like that Atlanta game last week. 6-6 at halftime, then they explode. I don't know if inconsistent's the right word. They're the number 1 team in point differential in the first half. But a lot of that is against Arizona, Washington, New Orleans. And here we go. We got them on the screen here. Interestingly, 4th quarter. Now, is that because they're blowing teams out and they're not trying to score?
I always defend teams that have a 3 or 4 touchdown lead at half. You go in, what do you say to players? They're not
You're
dummies.
not hanging 50 on them.
Yeah.
So they have played San Francisco opener. They lost.
Just take out the Sam Darnold Rams performance. Because the game came down to a field goal, right? Like it was close.
It was 60-yarder or something like that. Yeah.
So take out Sam's game against the Rams. The argument is that's the best team in the league. And even in that game, how good do you have to be to throw 4 picks and you're marching to beat what we view as now the best team in the league at their place?
It was impressive. I think they could pick their score here. Like you said, 24-6.
I am convinced Seattle will run it. Short passing. Darnold goes 18 of 23. Maybe ugly weather. Yeah. Get in, get out, get healthy. Rams around the corner.
Seattle does close with, after this Colts team, by the way, Colts secondary is beat up. No Sauce Gardner again. Rams at Carolina. That's a long cross-country trip late in the season. And then at San Fran. So those are 3 playoff teams to close. I want to see Seattle. This week they're going to look good. Let me see those final 3 before I judge them heading into the playoffs.
Fair enough.